telling the Debt Commission that he is willing to do some unpopular things to fix the budget. My next guest worrying that one of those things will hit job creators hard, tax hikes. He is the House Minority Leader of these fine United States, John Boehner. Leader, very good to have you. Thanks for coming.
Neil, it's good to be with you.
I do want to touch on that, but I do want to get your take on all this cursing going on at this hearing with these Goldman guys. What do you think of that?
I haven't been watching the hearings. I've got a real job to do here on the House side of the Capitol.
Put down.
You can imagine.
Yes.
That this is a pretty heated hearing, but I don't think the cursing is necessary at all.
Okay, I was just trying to see if you were going to return the favor, but that's fine. But now to the president and this debt commission talking that everything's on the table. You have assumed for a long time that among those things are tax hikes, right?
Well, I assume that the whole commission was created to try to provide cover for finding ways of raising additional revenue. But the American people are asking the question, where are the jobs? They're not raising their hand and asking the question, can I pay higher taxes? Washington has a spending problem, and we have to get our arms around the spending, and the sooner we do it, the better off we are.
Do you think we can get from here to there, that is ultimately toward balanced budgets and eradicate our debt by never raising a single tax, by never hiking fees, by never doing any of this stuff at all, zero?
Neil, I've been around elective office for a long time. In local office, was a state rep, and I've been here in Congress 20 years. And I've never voted to raise anyone's taxes. This revenue problem that we have is not a problem. The American people are working, they're paying their taxes, but Washington continues to spend out of control. And if you begin to think about how you balance the budget, two things are absolutely essential. How about three things? We have to get our arms around the fiscal side of this. We have to get our arms around the entitlement programs that are not sustainable in their current form. And thirdly, if you don't have a strong, healthy economy with more Americans working, you're never going to have the revenue to balance the budget. But it's going to take all three of these. And as I've said to my colleagues...
So what was it, they've raised, when you mentioned that, I mean, we had Alan Simpson here yesterday, sir, and he didn't want to rule anything out, but he said, when I asked about a value-added tax, that and again, I don't want to put words in his mouth, open to that, but it can't be a pile-on. In other words, it has to be greeted by a cut in income taxes, or words to that effect. Are you of that mind, or if we did a value-added tax, you would favor it in place of the income tax system we have now?
At the end of the day, however they make their suggestions, I'm not for raising taxes on the American people. I believe that right now, if we want to get the economy going again and start creating jobs, we ought to be thinking about providing tax relief to American families and small businesses to get our economy going again. But I've told my colleagues and I've told the American people that if the Republicans are fortunate enough to win the majority in November, and if I'm lucky enough to be the next Speaker of the House, I'm going to run the House differently than it's being run today, and I'm going to run the House differently than it was run under Republicans in the past. We have to get very serious about fiscal responsibility. We're going to spend 43 cents out of every dollar. We're going to borrow 43 cents out of every dollar we spend this year. And I think we ought to go through every line in the budget and ask this question. Is this spending so important that we're willing to ask our kids and grandkids to pay for it? And if it doesn't meet that test, then we probably shouldn't do it.
So in the meantime, on financial reform, sir, just to keep to the issue today, where we have these test votes every day, they get shot down, and but it's a procedure that's happening every day in the Senate. How likely is a financial reform bill in the near future or not?
Well, I think it's likely that we will get a bill, but I'm hopeful that the bipartisan conversations that are going on in the Senate continue. The Barney Frank bill that came out of the House, I think, would cripple the American financial services industry and really have adverse impacts on my local banks back in my district. It will do nothing to help get our economy going again. And so I do believe that the conversations over there to get to a bill that solves the problems on Wall Street, gets to the problem of Fannie and Freddie that's not been discussed, and do it in a bipartisan way, I think we can get somewhere. But sometimes I wonder whether the president really just wants a campaign issue for this November, as opposed to getting something done.
Could I ask you on a personal level, it seems like the bad blood that appears to be the case between you and the president has gotten worse. Or am I imagining things?
There's no bad blood between the president and I. He wants a financial regulation reform bill, and so do I. But the things that they want to do in this bill are not what the president says they want to do. You know, he says he wants to end bailouts forever. But if you look at the language in the bill, it creates a system for permanent bailouts of Wall Street and others.
But he's saying also, and some of his fellow Democrats are saying, they're going to get a wave of good numbers each month, every month, and this quest of yours to see Republicans take over the House, and maybe you become the next speaker, you could be counting your chickens before they're hatched.
Well, listen, I think that there's a rebellion going on in America. The American people are looking up at Washington, and they're saying these people are out of control, and they're not listening. And you're going to see Republican members, we've been listening over the last year and a half. We're going to continue to listen to the American people and represent their interests here in Washington.
All right, John Boehner, always a pleasure. Thank you, sir.
Neil, nice to be with you.